This is the MBRP Armor-Lite dual rear exhaust system fitting all 21 and newer 3.5 liter EcoBoost F-150s, excluding the Raptor and the Tremor. Now you guys should be checking out the street version of the Armor-Lite if you'd like to add just a little bit more volume along with an iconic pickup truck look, all at a very affordable price point. Now this particular system will deliver aluminized steel for your material throughout, along with a combination of both 3-inch and 2.5-inch mandrel bent tubing, and of course all exiting out of that very tough looking rear exit design for right around that $600 price point. All right guys, so getting into our features and sound here, and if you weren't aware, the Armor-Lite street version is gonna be MBRP's answer for truck owners out there who might want a very mild increase in volume over the stock system, but would ultimately prefer to keep things as budget friendly as possible. So getting into our sound here, and let's break out our Wake the Neighbor scale. I'm gonna go soft 3 out of 5 here on my 1 to 5 or 1 to Wake the Neighbor scale. Yes, it is a noticeable increase. You are getting a good amount of bark here, but more importantly, at least to me, is maintaining that nice deep tone out of the MBRP, which I think is really important, especially when we're talking about the EcoBoost engine. Now, sometimes with some of the more higher pitch systems out there, the raspier things tend to get, but that is not the case here. Again, nice deep tone out of the street version on the EcoBoost. Certainly nails it in my humble opinion. Now, because this is the street sound profile and because this exhaust does dump behind the truck essentially, the noise inside the cab is going to be very minimal and not drony whatsoever. But let's move away from the sound profile and let's get into the nuts and bolts here of the MBRP and talk about what you can expect out of this very budget-friendly system. And guys, right up front, I have to say this thing is gonna be budget-friendly for a reason. Now, that reason being is that when companies utilize aluminized steel, as is the case here with the Armor-Lite, it's done so in a way to keep that cost to an absolute minimum. Now, the downside to that aluminized steel material is that it's not gonna be as robust. It is gonna be a bit more susceptible to rust and corrosion, and so if you do see a lot of road salt during the winter months, then that is something you want to consider. Now, if you live in a state like Arizona or Florida, obviously this is a non-issue and you can take advantage of all the benefits of this system without having to worry about that corrosion. On the other hand, if you live in the Midwest, the Northeast, or maybe upstate New York, well, this is definitely something to keep in mind, as the aluminized will not be as good as a 409 or 304 grade stainless, preventing that rust. So with all that said, you are still getting a 3-year warranty here out of the Armor-Lite system, which is pretty solid given the materials. Now, materials aside, you are getting a very nice combination of 3-inch tubing here, leading into and out of not only the included resonator, but also your bullet style muffler, if you want to call that here. Very free-flowing design. And then at that point, it does step down into that 2.5-inch mandrel bent tubing. And everything is going to exit out the rather large 4.5-inch stainless steel tips embossed with that MBRP logo. Now, the one nice thing to point out here, guys, is the stainless steel in the tips. That is 304 grade stainless. That is the best material you can use, and as such, these guys should remain looking good no matter how rough the system looks over time. Again, if you do live in a very snowy or salty area. Now, again, keep in mind this is the dual rear exit configuration, something that is that traditional, or dare I say iconic look for any pickup truck, and the MBRP is certainly going to look right at home when installed on the F-150. Last but not least, guys, the system does include all of the necessary clamps, the added hangers, and everything else needed to get the MBRP in place. All right, now moving into our price point, and the MBRP Armor-Lite is gonna land in that mid to high $600 ballpark here, definitely making this one of the more affordable systems for the newer EcoBoost powered trucks. Now, if you are worried about the materials here, that aluminized steel, maybe you would like to step into something full stainless, well, MBRP does have you covered. They have the Armor Plus and then the Armor Pro, both of which are gonna offer 409 or 304 grade stainless respectively. But as always, that stainless does cost you a little bit more, so I would expect to add a couple $100 onto the price of the Armor-Lite if that's the direction you want to go. But if not, again, you're looking in that $600 range here, mid to high $600, which is still pretty solid given the system. All right, let's shift gears and talk about the installation. And the site's gonna go with a middle of the road 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter here, taking you a couple of hours or so to complete from start to finish. So now to give you a better idea of what you might encounter at home, in the garage, or the driveway, let's throw it out to the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
For this install, you need a 3/8 impact and extension, a 15, 14, 13, and 10 millimeter swivel, 8 millimeter Allen socket, 14 millimeter wrench, a marker, exhaust hanger tool, safety glasses, tape measure, die grinder, and also not shown to be a cutting tool and a pull jack. All right, today we're gonna be installing the exhaust on our F-150. First, we're gonna watch a quick video how to uninstall a stock system, then we'll come back here to install the new one.
So we've got the truck up in the air, and the first thing we're gonna need to do is remove our factory setup. We're gonna start with our 15 millimeter clamp here at our flex pipe. So we're gonna grab our 15 mil socket on our impact and loosen this up. So we'll come up here and loosen this clamp. Next, we can unbolt the brackets for our 2 hanger isolators here on our frame rail. For that, we're going to use our 10 millimeter socket and extension on our ratchet. You want to hold on to this hardware when you remove it. Next, we're going to remove our hanger isolator for our muffler section. And the easiest way to do that is to use your 10 millimeter socket and extension on your impact and unbolt it. Now we do have a pull jack underneath our muffler to help support it. And once you have it unbolted, it does have a tab on the other side. Just have to lower this pull jack down a bit, get that out of its seat. Make sure that's free and clear. Now we can unbolt our rear hanger bracket section, again with our 10 mil socket and extension on our impact. There is also a bolt on the inside of the frame rail. You want to support your exhaust when you do this. Now we can come up to our 2-bolt flange and remove the 2 13 millimeter bolts holding that in place. Now we do have an extra set of hands at the rear of the exhaust because once we unbolt this, we'll bring this back and take it out of the truck. We've got our 13 millimeter socket and extension on our impact. We'll get these out. We're going to hold on to these bolts. Once we clear the cross member, we can bring the front of our exhaust down. Get the tail over the axle.
So now before we get to installing our new exhaust, we just need to take off our factory hangers off of our stock system. So we'll grab an exhaust hanger tool and simply just pop them off. Get that off of our tool, and we're just going to do the same thing for the other 3. This one does have a barb on it, so you definitely need that. Sometimes they don't. They'll just simply twist off. Just like that. Now before we get to installing our exhaust, we actually do have to cut our front pipe here. Now since we do have a Super Crew and a 6.5 foot bed, we're gonna be cutting ours down to 37.25 inches. Now you wanna make sure you have the front mark at the flange point so you don't cut the flange off. So we'll bring this down, grab our tape measure, just grab a marker and just mark that. Just keep rolling the pipe, mark it all the way around. So that you get a nice straight line going all the way around it. Once you have marks going all the way around, just connect the dots. All right, now we're ready to go cut this. Now we have this set up on our chop saw, let's get this cut. All right, now before we get our exhaust installed, we just have to clean up after our cut. So I'm gonna grab a die grinder and a sanding disc and just clean up the outside and inside of our edges here. So we're gonna start by getting our front section on. This will have our flange for our bracket here. We're gonna slide that up in place, and we're just gonna loosely install our factory bolts that we took out. We got those loosely threaded in, we just let that hang there for now. Next we have our extension pipe that we cut down to size. So we have one of our 3-inch clamps already over it. I have a pull jack here just to help hold everything up in place. And we'll just slide this into our front muffler. All right, so before we get our next muffler on, we do need to reinstall one of our exhaust hangers. We're gonna put this in our rear location and thread in our 10mm bolts, grab our impact and socket and tighten those down. So now we're gonna have our hanger and clamp combo. Now how this goes together is you're just gonna pinch the clamp and put that through the large slot and then just rock up in place so it locks down. Now this is gonna go over this pipe here and into our hanger. We just kind of let that rest there for now, and then we can get our muffler on and then slide our clamp down. So now we'll grab our muffler, get that slid over in place, and then we might need to loosen up our clamp a little bit, but we'll get that back over our muffler after we get everything else on. All right, now before we get any more of our exhaust installed, we just need to install our rear hangers. Now these are identical from side to side. So you see this access hole right here, this big circle hole above our leaf spring. So we're gonna get our bracket and we're gonna have a large washer behind it. Just make sure that the end of it is facing outside of the truck. Get our large bolt with our flat washer and put that through. Put that through our access hole. Now on the other side, we're gonna have another large washer with another flat washer, lock washer, and then our nut. I know it's gonna be hard to see, but you do need to just reach above the spare tire and get that in place. Let's get up here, flat washer, and then our smaller washer, lock washer, and then thread on your nut. Now this is all 14mm hardware. So we're gonna grab our 14mm wrench to hold the backside and our impact with 14mm socket and tighten that down. Just make sure it's pointing straight up and down. All right, now you can go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other side. So now we're gonna continue on with our driver's side exhaust. So we have our over the axle pipe here, and we have our factory hanger back on that goes into our cross member up here. We have one of our clamps already over the ends of our muffler. I'm gonna slide that in place, hook our our mount up there, and thread in our 10mm bolt. Then we'll grab our impact, extension, and 10mm socket and tighten that down. So next we have our passenger side over the axle pipe. It's easy to identify, it has no hangers on it. We have our other clamp on the back of our muffler. We're just gonna slide this in. So we'll continue along on our passenger side. I have one of our 2.5-inch clamps over our pipe. We're gonna slide that on our over the axle pipe and into our hanger that we installed at the same time. Now with our driver's side, we're gonna do the same thing, get it up in our hanger and in our over the axle pipe at the same time. So now we're gonna start tightening down our exhaust, starting at the front, working our way backwards. We're gonna start with our impact, extension, and 13mm swivel socket, tighten down our front flange. Now you wanna go back and forth on the bolts and make sure you tighten it down evenly. All right, now for everything else, it's gonna be a 15mm socket. So grab that and tighten our clamps down. Next, we have our clamp and hanger combo. Now we have our 2 clamps at the tail of our muffler. Make sure they're seated all the way. And then our clamps at the end of our over the axle pipe. And on our driver's side here. Last thing we need to install is our tips. So slide them on, adjust them to wherever you want, however far you want out. Grab our impact, extension, and an 8mm Allen socket and tighten them down. You can go ahead and repeat the same thing for the other tip. And that wraps up our install of our MBRP Armor Light dual exhaust system with a rear exit for our 2021 and newer 3.5-liter EcoBoost F-150, excluding the Raptor and Tremor. And remember, for everything F-150, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.